everyone, and welcome to the live Wonder Woman Spoilercast. I'm your host for this evening, Captain Logan, and here is our panel. Look, it's Eric Holden!
Hello,
and
Internet.
Back from the dead, it's Dan Torrey!
Hey!
And live from his phone, it's the real Manos!
Hey, how's it going? I don't have any bracelets.
See, I wish I had a setup where I could, like, spin around and be like, Captain Logan! But I don't have...
There's no reference to that in the
I don't
movie.
have that. Yeah, which, I don't know how you would have done that and do it classy and in the context of that film, but I was expecting maybe some reference to something from the TV show.
Like at
But it's
some
not
point,
like-
she's like fighting and spinning and like tearing bits of her clothes off to get to her costume. Something.
Oh yeah, they could have done that, and that would have been a real subtle reference. Yeah. Anyway, hi folks. It's so nice to see you. As everybody knows, of course, I've been on hiatus for the most part, besides coming in and out here and there for cameos on my own channel for the last several weeks because I've been writing a novel. And guys, I'm very nearly finished. I'm like a chapter and a half away. I'm over the 100,000 word mark. I'm so excited about it. And we will be back regularly on the channel beginning not this coming Monday, not tomorrow, but the Monday afterwards. That is the day, and we'll be back full time. So I'm really looking forward to that. And here's our first Spoilercast in a while. We did Guardians a while back. Now we're doing Wonder Woman. And yeah, okay, I know you weren't expecting that, but you're sitting so close to me. I know that was yeah. Oh, really? Oh, wow. That was a conveniently timed hiccup. Anyway, if you are watching live, thanks very much for being here with us. And we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight. What we're going to do is Q&A for the entire hour. And we are, I promised Dan, because he has to go to bed, because he has to get up in the morning and go to work and things. He has things to do. And it's not easy to get Dan these days on Sunday Night Live shows, and I promised him an hour, so that's what we're gonna do. And if it takes longer than that, he'll just leave. He'll just be like, "Whatever, I'm done," and then he'll leave. But the plan tonight is to let you folks. I'm not pointing at Dan and Manos right now. I'm pointing at the live view. You folks to we'll get to direct our conversation the entire evening. So past our initial comments. So we're gonna go round robin like we always do, and we're gonna let everybody say kind of their general thoughts about the piece and how they felt about Wonder Woman. Not with like signs or like how we felt about it, just like general thoughts. And then for the spoilery stuff, we're gonna let you guys help us decide exactly what bits to talk about. The feed is scrolling quickly. We have a lot of viewers tonight.
The sign should say I felt about it and I did not feel about it.
I did. I had feelings or I did not. But Dan's would be the same on both sides because everyone has feelings except Dan. Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and start with Dan, since in my mind he's almost like our special guest tonight because I was not expecting to get Dan on this show. So Dan, why don't you just give us your quick thoughts walking out of the theater? Were you as surprised as we were? I know that part of the reason you went was because I told you it was good, so maybe you weren't so surprised. But why don't you tell us what your thoughts were walking out of the theater and your best thing and your worst thing? Go ahead, Dan. And folks, please don't start writing your comments for what you'd like us to talk about until after we do all these, because I'm not going to have a chance to look at them yet. So if you're already writing like, Cap, please talk about this thing, I'm not going to see it yet. So start doing that when I put you, again, not the Manos, but you folks, and say, okay, let the madness, the typage begin. But not yet. That wasn't me actually saying that. Okay, Dan, go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
Yeah, I really liked this movie, and I was really surprised that I liked it as much as I did.
Manos' turn.
Yeah, this is the DC movie that I was looking forward to the least, short of Cyborg, because I just I never liked Wonder Woman as a character, really. I've never really gotten into her. Not that I have a problem with her or anything. It's just like I never read the comics. She was never interesting to me, like reading her in an ensemble cast to seek out her solo series. But I went into this movie just expecting something that was kind of mediocre, and then Captain Logan told me it was really good, and I went in, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that this movie was set during one of the most horrifying chapters of human history and managed to be optimistic somehow, and it's also a DC movie, which was awesome. That was the thing that surprised me the most about it. So I think that's probably the thing I liked the most about it, the fact that it was so sort of reverential to the source material in the sense it's a superhero and it's fun and it has something optimistic and uplifting to say about people and humanity, but not treating it as like a sort of really immature school girl or boy view of the world. Like it's a movie that still realizes that people are extremely flawed, but the movie's kind of about us overcoming those weaknesses that we have and becoming something greater and not being defined by them. So I really liked that about it. That's probably the best thing about the movie. The worst thing, I just kind of laughed at the end that Professor Lupin looks like Ares even when he's like Greek god in the flashbacks. He still has this old British man mustache, and I think it's hilarious. And simultaneously, I don't know if this is good or bad because he's sort of inconsequential to the movie, but Danny Houston is a complete cartoon character in this movie, and I can't tell if I like
it. Totally works, though!
Like, even his German accent is, like, 11 over the top, like, stereotypical German supervillain. Like, and then when he throws the gas mask into the room, and he's like, they won't know that. Like, oh my god, this is crazy. So I'm not sure if he's in the best or worst category, but I had to mention him because he's hilarious.
Yeah, that's so much fun. Didn't you expect those villains to be completely generic? Like,
yeah.
Because when you get to the villain stuff, and I guess we can argue about whether or not that stuff is integrated well, but when you get into the villain stuff, it's a period serial from like 10 or 20 years after that period, right?
That's true. Yeah, maybe they were going for sort of like the Captain America First Avenger thing where like Red Skull's kind of a, over-the-top movie serial villain too in that way. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, my wife, and I don't know how many people are gonna get this reference. Sarah loved it. This is the last thing on earth I thought I would do this year. I took Sarah to see Wonder Woman for our anniversary. That's how good this movie is, and it's a good date movie. And I mean, like a DC thing. If you had told me a month ago, Cap, you're gonna take your wife to not like gun to your head, like you're gonna take your wife to Wonder Woman for your anniversary, I would have been like, nonsense. There's no way. And anyway, she loved it. I don't know how people are going to get this reference, but in that, to Dan's point of over-the-top theatrics, I have a couple of reservations about the third act. I talked about that a little bit with how we felt about when Ares gets to, when Professor Lupin gets to, I will destroy you. My wife turns to me and she quotes Brack from Cartoon Planet. There's this whole sketch in Cartoon Planet where Brack goes, I will destroy you if you don't mind. And Sarah turns to me after I will destroy you, and she goes, if you don't mind, and I just lost it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Manos, go ahead and give us your general thoughts and your best or worst thing.
Yes, I thoroughly love this film, and I gotta say, I'm pretty confident out of the group of us. I was the most confident that this would be a good film. I trusted Patty Jenkins, and when I would see footage and I'd hear information about the film, it just seemed like the most confident and of the projects, and it knew what it was doing. Like,
so, but can I say this real quick? Let's go ahead and have this conversation. So did Suicide Squad, and you saw how that turned out. Like I
never got that feeling. I never had that feeling once that it knew what it was doing.
Okay, but
that's probably why I didn't go see it.
But as far as we know with Suicide Squad, like they might have made an okay movie and it got all jacked up in the editing just because she made.
I don't believe that.
But just because she made a good movie would not have necessarily meant that we got to see the good version of it, and that was my concern.
I was concerned. I was maybe 20% concerned, but I was nowhere near as convinced as you guys were that it was going to be not so good.
I just wasn't sure we could trust Warner's to allow a movie like this to be made because it wasn't about storytelling until just now.
Well, I didn't have the trust in Warner Brothers and DC that I have in Marvel. I have a lot of trust in Marvel because they've built up my trust over the last few years. DC and Warner Brothers did not, and especially Warner Brothers, who I don't think really has a handle and understanding of these characters in the same way that Marvel Studios does. Because
I don't think Warner Brothers knows how to function as a movie studio anymore.
I
bring this up a lot,
that's a larger,
They released The Nice Guys
specifically with this topic.
Yeah, when
like Warner Brothers in general just doesn't know what they're doing.
Man, so I'm not trying to gang up on you. I'm just saying that I thought that there was real reason for concern, and if we're concerned, I think we're lucky it turned out as well as it did. Because
every good movie is lucky. There's so much bad stuff that could make any film bad.
So because, right, but the reaction to BVS got us the cut of Suicide Squad we got. And again, I have no idea what that would have looked like without that kind of monkeying with it and like damage control. But then obviously the critics didn't like that movie either, and I thought that could have hurt Wonder Woman. And honestly, I'm baffled. I do not know how this happened.
Well, it's interesting and telling that this is the first movie. Well, I guess Man of Steel didn't, but since BVS and Suicide Squad, there is no alternate cut. We will not get an ultimate edition on DVD. According to Patty Jenkins, every scene they shot is in the movie.
Well, and it feels like it, right? Manos, what are you doing?
Oh, hi. Yes. I want to talk about how I enjoyed the film. And I have to say, like, okay, yeah, I thought it was going to be good. I'm not sure why we're arguing at this point. But I'm totally thrown off track. But there was just oh man, yeah, I have to say that I don't know. I've always been a fan of this character, and just if this was one of those characters, if they had like a proper understanding, that they would hit it right. One of the things that really made me feel confident was they took it out of the present into World War One, and a lot of people are like making that comparison to like Captain America. That Captain America was in World War II, and they were trying to avoid that. In knowing what I know about the creation process of Wonder Woman, there's a lot of what happened during like tens and that period, that creation of Wonder Woman. So actually, it was very fitting because the women's suffrage movement was really kind of like starting to pick up at that time. Matter of fact, women could vote at this time. So actually, this is, I don't know, this is just really appropriate time, I thought. Patty, I think the fact that Patty Jenkins put so much color into this movie and a sense of fun and heart, that's what I kind of want to say. Like the films we've had up until now haven't had any real sense of humanity to them. Even when a lot of them have come across like, I don't know, like a 13-year-old's, fanfic script, and, trying to write, he just heard Linkin Park for the first time and wants to get dark. And it's kind of what these movies have been feeling like.
Linkin Park AMV for BVS.
Yeah. And this film actually feels, this is such a wonderful film. This film is a war film. It's a mythical epic. It's a superhero movie, and Gadot puts an incredible performance out because I think she was directed better. Her chemistry with Chris Pine is great. If I had to pick a good thing, like a favorite thing, man, one specific thing, I think the battle sequence in the middle is amazing. And if I had to pick a bad thing, and I have to agree, like seeing Lupin as Ares is a little off-putting. I think he probably should have fully transformed. And but specifically, I think maybe there's a little bit too much exposition in that part. Okay, we get it. Let's go and fight. Just a tiny bit, but it's an otherwise great movie.
Well, man, so you think it's a credit to the film that we don't need some of the stuff spelled out from his monologue by the time we get to that part? Like, I feel like it got a little overstated.
I would say so. I would agree with that. I think maybe that might have come from the studio. Jenkins wasn't the only one who worked on the script, so I'm sure that came from some of the other
not
people.
By a long shot. They had a lot of names on that script.
The only credited writer on the script is Alan Heinberg. Everyone else is credited with story. Only Alan Heinberg is credited with screenplay. And
you know what? I believe he wrote, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he wrote Wonder Woman for about...
Yeah, he wrote that 1 year later stuff where she was a secret agent as her secret identity, and people didn't like that.
Yeah, that was a little... I want to get to know people, so I'm going to become a secret agent. Yeah, that's a good way.
He's right before Gail Simone.
The story, actually, he wrote introducing that was pretty cool. It's called Who's Wonder Woman, and I swear to God, it's like Hush with Wonder Woman. Like she runs into all her villains during this adventure.
Does it make more sense than Hush?
It is.
Oh,
it's
okay,
like Hush.
That's good.
Imagine Hush was good and had Wonder Woman in it. That was pretty much the story.
I guess Hush didn't have Wonder Woman in it, did it?
No, but everyone.
I know Superman's in it. Everybody else is in that. Yeah. You know, if I were Wonder Woman and wanted to get to know humanity better, instead of being a secret agent, I would drive around in an ice cream truck. That's
yeah. George Perez did that in a story arc. She got a job at a Taco Bell.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, they did that for a while. Yeah, it was a fast food restaurant. She worked for a while.
Hi, my name is Diana Prince. That's fantastic. So Manos and I'm gonna real quick before we get to comments. I want to mention this specific scene because I brought up the ice cream thing. Manos and I, way back in the day, now which is not how many years it's been, reviewed the first Justice League arc that had that ice cream bit in it, and in New 52. And he and I didn't like the Justice League arc, and then Manos very promptly after that swore off 52 and wouldn't read anything DC for a good like eighth of his life now, I think. And and yeah, right? Isn't that nuts? And anyway, so can you believe the ice cream bit was there and it was great and it was perfect and it was word for word?
I can't believe the ice cream thing was in the movie. It's just when it happened. It's like, oh my God, I need this sweet scene, but oh my God, I know the origins of this. And Jeff Johns' name is on the credits of like, producing. Oh man, I bet he fought for that. It's like, I wrote that, and that's getting in this movie.
It was
essential. This movie doesn't work without the ice cream scene.
Well, and I think part of the reason it's so great that it is there is because it goes with this version of the character in a way it does with the 52 version. Yes. It says a lot about her that she's... Okay, so one of the best things about this movie, I think, is the title and not having the words Wonder Woman... I mean, the word Wonder and Woman both show up in the film, but Wonder Woman as the name of the character anywhere in the movie. She inspires wonder and has a sense of wonder, and it's perfect, and I totally understand why that character is called that, and I always thought it was just alliterative.
It's because Lex Luthor made that logo for her.
Oh, so she had to do something. Yeah. Well, it's great that it was so fitting, and that Lex Luthor has such a good understanding of all of the Justice League members. Ding, ding,
yeah.
Ding, ding,
It's their adaptation of Stan Lee creates the DC universe, except it's Lex Luthor creates the DC universe.
Let's go ahead and start going to the comments. Super cool. G-Man 1. The ice cream part was wonderful. I'm having the thing with this movie that I always have with Spider-Man things where I try to avoid ever saying amazing or spectacular. Now I got all I can say. This movie's wonderful. Crap, it did it again. I'm sorry, what, Dan?
I was joking. I said, or web of.
Friendly neighborhood.
Okay, so we're going to jump all over the place. We're going to read as many comments as humanly possible, and we're going to let you guys direct everything we talk about from here on out. That dope channel, why did Hippolyta not want Wonder Woman to train if she and Antiope knew Ares' return was inevitable, and Wonder Woman was the only thing that could kill Ares? I'm not saying there's no answer, but the movie gave none. I disagree with that. I think it's
going to be clear.
I think it is the Jonathan Kent from Man of Steel thing done right, finally. That's what I think. Yeah. That's what I think that is.
I think they kind of lost their mission. Like they kept training for it, but like they were content and happy being secluded from the world and didn't ever really intend to go out.
Yeah, they were great at what they were doing, but they were also apathetic. They or complacent. They were not expecting to ever be invaded, and furthermore, she just didn't want anything to happen to her daughter, and didn't think that. And also, I think the line "the world doesn't deserve you" is really telling. Why let her go out and possibly get killed for the sake of people that she doesn't think are worthy?
Yeah, why save a world that doesn't deserve it? Which is kind of Ares' argument.
And it's kind of what the movie ultimately is about. Yeah, I mean, like the more I've talked about this movie with people, the more I find that setup and payoff is handled so well in this that like I'll ask a question like that and then find the answer, and then it'll unravel and open all kinds of other. It's such a tight story. It's really nice. What do you guys think of that? Is he right, or do you agree with us?
No, I agree with you. A natural parent's inclination is to protect their child, even with knowing what to happen. I think, hey, let's put that off as long as I can. Let's protect her as best as I can. That naturally comes through for any parent, and that's what I got. I didn't think that was too confusing at all. And also, hey, look, they've been there for thousands of years. They have this one job to do. And you're right, they've probably gotten complacent. It's like when you have a job and customers have walked in for an hour and you're bored, and then a customer walks in, you go, oh crap, I gotta help them now. It's similar to that. But no, it's definitely a parent's love.
It's just like that.
It's exactly like that. And yeah, but no, I mean, one of the things I always thought was so moving about the Hippolyta-Diana relationship is like how much they care about each other. And, every version of this, like Hippolyta has to have Diana leave her over and over again to maybe get killed, maybe never see her again.
But ultimately, don't you think she was a lot more reasonable in this version than she's been in some others? I really like that when the time comes, she's like, yeah, I can't stop you, and ultimately we find out why. She actually really is a god, and nothing can stop her, and so it is that kind of Superman thing. You get that in Smallville a lot, where it's like Jonathan Kent wants to ground his kid, but what's he really going to do? If he wants to run off and go party, he can't stop a guy that can fly. And as well, I guess in that show he can't, but they can run really fast. It has super strength. But anyway,
did you know he had a fear of flying?
I remember that it's coming. It's all coming back to me now. But yeah, I just thought that that she had a lot of sense. So she's working mostly on emotion, and then Antiope's like, yeah, but she needs to train in case something happens. Okay, yeah, guess you're right, so do it right. And then later, I've got to go on this boat. Okay, guess I can't stop you. Go ahead. Like, I just like that she's reasonable, and they don't play that for unnecessary drama. Antiope's one of my favorite characters in the movie. I think she's my favorite character on the island. Partly just because I like Robin Wright a lot. I'm a big House of Cards fan, and it was and I didn't know she was going to be in that. So when she shows up on screen, I'm like, oh, cool! The first lady from House of Cards is suddenly shooting arrows. I wasn't expecting her to do that kind of action. One of the best shots in the whole movie is that slow-mo bit where she's got the arrow and she shoots the 3 and hits the I was like, wow, this is really cool. You got the first lady shooting all these people with arrows. It was awesome.
I know, I absolutely love it. Princess Buttercup trains Princess Diana. Perfect.
In the theater, I was, because I didn't know that character. I didn't remember her name, so in the theater I got confused because I wasn't sure what her actual name is. And it starts with Aunt, and it is Hippolyta's sister. So it turns out she's actually Aunt Antiope, and I would have loved that one time.
Yeah. There's a couple of Amazons. I guess on a nitpick note, there's a couple Amazon characters that I really like that aren't in the film. Like General, I think it's pronounced Philippus. Yeah. She's not in the film that I can tell. And Io isn't in the film, which is a really awesome character.
There's a big one that's like Wonder Woman's best friend. I think Rosario Dawson plays her in the animated movie.
That's Artemis.
Yeah, Artemis was not in the movie.
Yes, good call.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised that Artemis is. I mean, she's kind of a name character. She was Wonder Woman for like 6 issues. And I'm a little tiny bit surprised. But, these are tiny nitpicks. Like, if we maybe get to see these characters again, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I wanted to ask you guys if you got the same read on this I did, because all I really have to go on is the way the actress speaks the line. When Hippolyta says, if you leave, you may never return, I don't think she means she's not allowed to come back. I think it's just there's a possibility you won't come back.
That's what I
right? So in a sequel, we certainly could, and I would imagine would see the island again.
I think
I have read that they're not going to be coming back to the island in the second film.
I'm sorry, what, Dan?
I think they've already confirmed that Robin Wright's going to be in Justice League in flashbacks, so we'll see the Island in that movie in some capacity. I don't know about the second Wonder Woman movie, but
well, what's nice is it's not like Thor, where like everything that's not in Asgard kind of sucks, and you're like, man, I really hope they do more Asgard the next one. Like the Earth stuff is good in this, and I'm okay if they don't go back to Asgard or Asgard if they don't go back to Themyscira for another movie or two.
I was comparing this movie to Thor quite a bit when I was watching it in my mind, just because I'm a big Thor fan, and these characters have similar backgrounds, and they both come from out of mythologies, and I think one of my other favorite things about the movie that Manos touched on a little bit that I think is worth talking about is the relationship between Diana and Steve Trevor in this, and how that sort of grounds her connection to humanity. I think that's done spectacularly in this movie in a way that it wasn't done in the Thor film. I think their romance is very well done. You can understand why she falls in love with Steve Trevor and humanity simultaneously, because he's kind of a professional, as he says, liar, murderer, and thief, but he's also a good man at the same time. So he's sort of like all of the things she comes to love about humanity all wrapped in one person, like how they're capable of being terrible to each other, but they're also capable of great good too. It's sort of like the thing that Jor-El says about Superman in the first one. He's like, they're capable of great things. They just don't like to show the way. And Wonder Woman is kind of that thing for them, and I really like that about it.
One of my favorite bits in the movie is near the end when Dr. Poison's mask gets like broken off, and you see like she's all scarred and everything, and this is during Wonder Woman's big tete-a-tete, philosophical whatever, and I really read it as like we break it off and like look how ugly she is, and it's that even they're worth saving, which is why I don't mind that the villains are cartoon characters, because I think it's making a point of that, where it's just like they are the most evil people they could possibly be, and even they're worth saving.
Yeah.
Although I think Dr. Poison might still end up dying.
No, and I think she does, but the only difference is Poison, I buy having gotten there from a place, and the other guy is completely one-dimensional. No idea.
You don't know his history.
No, I don't.
You have to walk in your shoes.
That's the problem.
You can paint her with that brush. You can paint him with that brush. You don't know him.
Magic gas changes you, man. Once you get on that stuff, I mean, come on.
Yeah, watch Blue Velvet. You'll know what Jan's talking about. I also think that in a good way, I don't mind the villains being kind of cartoonishly evil, because what we see is very honest, real life effects of evil and violence. To this effect, we see the people in the villages. We see the people coming back from the war, all torn up and all dismayed and beaten and torn apart, and I don't know. I think the film is balanced really well in that regard.
And you made me think of this, Manos. I also think it's maybe important that they are seemingly as evil as they are, because it helps Wonder Woman to think that she's right in her really naive worldview.
Oh, yeah.
That because she thinks that it's just Ares mind controlling people, and well, they look kind of mind controlled. So it's totally believable then that she would be like, see, because remember when she goes to the general and she's like, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna take Ares out of you, and that maybe was part of the point of making them so over the top, or at least a justification for doing the really golden age comic book thing that clearly this movie has a lot of reverence for.
Well, I think it's important to note as well that Ares acts like when we see him in the third act when he's fighting Wonder Woman, he behaves like a cartoon character. But I think it's important to note, I mean, one of the things I liked about him in this movie was that, like, the Greek god stories, he doesn't view himself as evil. He doesn't even view himself as the god of war. He views himself as the god of truth. And he is just trying to show humanity their true face. And I really liked that sort of take on the god of war, because I've never really thought about it that way before. He doesn't like...
Also,
I'm going to give a...
Sorry. Go ahead, Dan. Finish your thought.
He just gives them the ideas to create weapons and things like that. I thought that was a really interesting idea.
I don't think he gives them the ideas, but he doesn't make them use them. I think that's really a really cool way to do that.
Well, it would have deflated everything if Diana turns out to be right. The movie doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would have completely broken it because she doesn't learn nothing at that point. You know, that's the crux of her character arc, is discovering that people are both good and bad. I didn't need her to spell it out at the end in a voiceover, but it is a really good character.
I have a question. Do you think that voiceover is there when they start making the movie?
No,
I think
much of the time
added.
no, I think they're added. I think they're totally unnecessary. I don't mind the one at the beginning as much, but overall the bookend is kind of pointless and ends up being really funny for a reason I don't want to steal from Eric because he thought of this. Do you remember what you said?
That she says, thanks for bringing it back to me, and Bruce still doesn't know who he is or anything because she didn't tell the story to Bruce.
She should be telling the story to Bruce Wayne because the movie ends as if she has, and she's just been thinking it in her brain and telling us, the audience, and then she just types, thanks for bringing it back to me. Bruce Wayne's going to be like, what are you talking about?
I also wonder if there are certain things I think they would have done different. Like, I don't believe that those bookends are there when we start the movie.
No.
Because if she's telling the story, there's too many flashbacks within flashbacks and things that she's not there for. It doesn't work like somebody telling the story.
The first time we did a flashback within it, I was like, oh, I don't love that. I kind of wish we weren't doing the telling a story thing, especially because she's not telling it to anyone. Sorry, go ahead, Mano.
Yeah. You know what might be the funniest thing is maybe midway through the movie, we flash back to the present, and some assistant is like knocking on the door and go, "Hey, Diana, could you get me to sign?" And she's just sitting there going, "Oh, okay, I'll."
Yeah, I thought that was odd. Another thing, since we're in a weird like exposition things. I want to call this a nitpick, but it took me out the first time, so I feel the need to mention it. And I don't know if you guys had this, it took me 2 viewings before I understood what in the world we were really trying to do with this. When Hippolyta is telling her the story of what happened with the Greek gods, you're right, by the way, that the artwork in that does look a little bit too Enlightenment.
It's not Greek.
Period. Yeah, but
it's Renaissance.
But yeah, it's real Renaissance. But anyway, so she's telling Diana the story, and they're intentionally making sure that she leaves certain things out of it. And then all of a sudden, and if you're not paying attention, you won't realize that we have switched point of views. All of a sudden, Antiope is telling the story, and then it goes back to her mother. And it took me 2 viewings before I realized that that's what was going on. And the reason it's weird is because all of a sudden the voice that has been talking, they don't sound the same, but it's like it was a bedtime story. So I'm not thinking, oh, there's another person talking right now. When Antiope starts talking, she very quickly is like, and then your mother. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought it was her mother talking. I'm confused. And they try to communicate this just by intercutting it with footage of her going and training with Antiope, and it doesn't work at all. That was a really strange choice. I don't know if that took you guys out, but I didn't like that. I'm sorry, what, Dan?
I picked up on it immediately. I didn't really have a problem with it. The scene where they transitioned to her training, and the fact that the voices were different, I caught on. But
I don't remember.
Okay.
I only got to see it once on opening night. I wanted to see it again before we did this, but I did not get a chance.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that earlier, that we all have more of a leg up on Eric because he saw it one time in last weekend. But anyway, and didn't mean for this to be a week later, but just the way last weekend landed. Okay, so we use that one question to talk about 15 different things. That Dope Channel wants to know. Oh, actually, that was the thing we just talked about. I'm sorry. Let's go to the ponder.
Let's hit it again.
How far do you think they're going to lean on Wonder Woman if Justice League falls short of expectations? Could she supplant Batman as the flagship character? I think you can even see just in the trailers with Justice League, and we'll see. But I think we're doing a complete 180 with Batman. I think he's going to be a completely different character in this next movie, and we'll justify that with, well, he learned a lot from the end of the last movie, so he's different. So I don't know. I don't think she'll be the flagship character, but I think people are going to now obviously care way more about her than they ever did, and I do think until they do something else with Superman, she's going to be probably on even footing or just secondary to Batman as the most popular character in this comic.
And I also
really
think
that.
I think they're hedging their bets a little bit with Justice League.
Will they lean too hard on her? I think they could.
I think there's a little bit of I don't want to read the Warner Bros. I think they're already assuming a lukewarm reception for Justice League. They announced recently they're doing major reshoots.
Yeah. And with Whedon.
Yeah, we're what, like 6 months out, if that. Like
November.
That is not normal.
Well, we'll see.
But
yeah.
And it depends on how the other solo movies do. It looks like Aquaman could be fun. Aquaman could also be, it could be that the solo movies end up being really good and we end up liking all those characters in their own movies.
Yeah.
Almost like we should have introduced these characters on their own and then built to a thing where they all work together.
Yeah, but I want to really focus on this question. Will they, because the question isn't, will the other movies be bad? It's, will they, rely too much on
No, what I'm saying is I think it depends on how the reception is to the other films.
Yeah.
If she keeps being the only one that gets good movies,
of course.
that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
If this movie is a sign that they figured out how to let people make movies and they're good from here on out, I think it's
The good news is, DC has had a history of relying too much on Batman and really leaning on him. If we really like Batman and Justice League, regardless of whatever the rest of that movie is like, and they've got two of them, well, that's good. Because the good thing about Gal Gadot, it turns out, is that she actually is a fantastic actress and can hold her own. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I wasn't expecting her to have the charisma she does. She's great. And man, she had me on that. I mean, you were impressed with her before I was, but Gal Gadot can lead the Justice League. And Wonder Woman ending up ultimately, if she were to lead the Justice League, I mean that would make sense, and I would be
and I think it's interesting that Superman and Wonder Woman have a very similar place in pop culture that Batman doesn't have.
Yeah.
In very iconic, everyone knows who they are, and for some reason we just choose Superman to be the one we keep sending out into the world and being like, look, this is Superman. Oh well, you didn't like that, but what about this is Superman? I think it's possible we could see Superman downplayed majorly, and she's just kind of the Superman of this universe, at least in how they sell it.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to Wonder Woman being a more major character in the Justice League because so far of the characters they've introduced, she's the likable one of them. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The likable.
I gotta. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, she's the only one who behaves like a person.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, compare the scene where she comes into that village and it's gassed and she is distraught and destroyed over it. And compare that to the scene in BVS where a whole room blows up around Superman and he just has this scowl
Superman would have dropped to his knees and then cried and then laser-eyed everybody.
Well, yeah, that would have been his other reaction, essentially.
in the ultimate cut.
Yeah, Snyder gives him 2 reactions. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think it's important to make this distinction. A lot of people have said that Superman seems to only care about Lois Lane and isn't interested in humanity. Wonder Woman comes to understand humanity through Steve Trevor, and it's not this unhealthy relationship.
It's almost like they were like, well, see, this is what we tried to do.
Yeah.
This is what we were trying to do.
and also, it's not on all of Steve Trevor. He's not the end-all, be-all of humanity to her. She meets, she meets Etta Candy, she meets
Commandos guys.
Yeah,
she meets the Commando guys. She has scenes with them and talks to them.
Are they comic book? Do they come from comics?
If they do, they're more obscure than my knowledge. I have never seen them.
All of those guys came alive and were likable and were flawed, but not to an obnoxious.
They were better Howling Commandos than the Howling Commandos.
Yeah, and had the kind of.
They were, yeah.
They kind of pretended like Bucky actually got in Captain America: First Avenger. Somebody wanted us to answer that question, and I don't know if I really want to do that. Which is better? Because a lot of people are comparing the two movies.
This is First Avenger.
But yeah,
I think this is a bad movie.
But it is really hard, of course, not to look at those two things and compare them. And I do think that Patty Jenkins, is that her name?
Patty Jenkins, yeah.
Yeah, that I think she was looking at that really hard and was, and not just in, well, we better change the period. And I'm sure that wasn't even her choice. I bet Warner's asked them to do that. I don't know. But I kind of think she was looking really hard at that movie and saying what things were right for a period superhero things and what things didn't work. You can't tell me that she wasn't looking at that third act with Steve Rogers in how she had Steve Trevor go out, because one of these made sense and that was the choice, and the other one, I don't know why he had to do that. And you can make the argument, well, Wonder Woman offered to do whatever the thing was that he needed to do, but she doesn't know how to fly an airplane. So like when he says I'm the only person that can do this, I buy it more than I have in some other things that kind of try to do that.
And with the World War II, World War I thing, I think in the story they're telling, I can completely believe, having seen the film, that they weren't even thinking, well, we better not do World War II because Captain America. It makes complete sense that she would come into the war to end all wars, not the second time around, where it's like, well, yeah, we had one of these a couple of years ago, but this one is a little bit worse.
Well, and I had this discussion with my wife the other night, and her argument for World War I was, well, World War I doesn't have a Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
If
That's
you
true.
have Hitler, then Ares has to be whispering in his mind, and he is too really actually evil and has too many of his own ideas. You wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so wonderful. World War II, I mean, if you study it, it's a huge mess. I mean, World War I has been like, I don't know, it's been glorified. There was a clear villain, but oh man, World War II. I mean, who were the bad guys in that? It was such an awful, ugly, terrible time.
Trying to reverse it, but yeah.
And that was a great choice for them to go in, because it's not as clear cut for Wonder Woman and her decisions.
Somebody asked in the comments, and these are moving so fast I can't get to anything like all of them, obviously. And like they're
We said humanly possible.
off my phone, and I can't even see them now. We have a different setup tonight, and my hope had been to have a moderator, and Rasco couldn't make it, unfortunately. But anyway, somebody wanted us to talk about how we felt about, and especially Manos, because Manos knows Wonder Woman so much better than the rest of us, how we felt about the gods being dead in this incarnation. I like that a lot, just because it explains where the heck they've been.
Well, and there's a thing that Azzarello did in his run that I'd like to see them do, where that's where the new gods come from.
Oh, interesting.
Is that those gods died,
go away.
and then the new gods come in? That would be a cool way to do the new gods, given the dark side's floating around.
It's just, if you have them all still around, you have to come up with some kind of a believable contrivance for why they're not interacting and interfering with us anymore.
Well, they're retired.
Which is always hard to do.
Getting rid of the gods does kind of like simplify things for the film universe, and it does kind of like also partly explain, like, oh, hey, why don't people worship Zeus anymore? Well, because they're all dead. And it makes sense to me. It is a little bit limiting for other Wonder Woman films. They're probably going to make 2 or 3 at the most. So, because the gods are all involved with Wonder Woman's storyline classically. There are several characters that pop up from time to time. So I don't know. In one way, it's nice and simplistic for the movieverse. It does kind of limit things a little bit with telling Wonder Woman stories. But what's so great about Wonder Woman is there's so much in her universe that people really, outside of the fandom, really don't kind of invest in. Like, she has her own rogues gallery, and we can look deeper into the Amazons. So I don't know. I'm fine with it, and actually, it is an interesting interpretation on it.
I think you can make a better case for the Justice League and superheroes in general look like gods if you don't have a pantheon, and Wonder Woman being the one of them that's left and having that responsibility, I think makes that a lot more interesting.
Neil deGrasse Tyson in BVS makes more sense if he knows that the gods were real.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Because I hate that scene where he's comparing Superman to the ancient Greeks. I'm like, but he's real. That doesn't make sense. But if Neil deGrasse Tyson has inside knowledge and knew that Zeus existed, it makes a lot more sense.
He's just that good of a scientist. He figured out that there's science that leads you to. That's a thing that obviously DC has over Marvel, and they should have leaned into, I think, right away. That Marvel wanted everything to feel like a science fiction piece first, and so magic is just science you don't understand yet. This straight up just does magic. We should have led with this. I mean, I'm saying that retroactively. I'm saying that in hindsight, but don't you guys agree? It's kind of unfortunate, especially given what we've had, that this wasn't the movie we led with. This could have been the Iron Man.
It should have not.
This.
I agree. Yeah, this should have been.
Putting the magic thing aside, I think they should have led with this simply because this is a good movie.
Well, and it wouldn't, because one of the best things in this movie is muted and kind of undone by the existence of BVS and Justice League, which is what we do with the God Killer sword, which is brilliant and fantastic.
Brilliant.
And then in BVS, she's swinging around that sword, and she didn't learn nothing. And I don't understand, and that needs to be explained to me.
Does she have a sword in BVS?
She has a sword in BVS.
Yeah, she has a sword.
I don't think it's the same sword.
It's probably not the same sword.
But there's a symbolic point to the destruction of that sword
I don't want to
that
ever
feels undermined.
Again.
Yeah, it feels undermined by the fact that she's using it in... And
at the very least, it feels retroactive. Like this movie, it hurts this movie just a little bit. It makes it feel retroactive because it's like BVS didn't know that she had the power set that she has, because if you can do all the things she can do and you have tapped into your godlike power, you don't need a sword. Why would you have
Well, and I also think it wouldn't be as much problem if we just never mentioned it again, but I think she's got a sword in the Justice League trailer. So it just... Because I love what they did with that sword.
Yeah,
and it's
so much.
It's undermined by the Zack Snyder movies.
Well, Wonder Woman generally has a sword now, like all the time. She has it in the comics, so okay.
Yeah, but this film feels like
she's got a sword. That's how it's
about the sword.
Oh, I agree.
Like this film felt like it was laying in on the sword argument and saying Wonder Woman shouldn't use a sword.
And here's why. And like ultimately you get to the end and she has, entirely defensive weapons, and she doesn't have to be that kind of, sharp-edged instrument. And I picked this up a lot more on a third viewing. I love that the God Killer idea comes entirely from the little girl, and that Hippolyta just runs with it.
What was that sword before?
Well, who knows? But the thing is, Hippolyta doesn't tell her that's the God Killer. They walk into that room and she says the God Killer, and Hippolyta's she got this look on her face like, I guess I'm running with this, and it's great. But the thing about that sword, and to your point, the one thing I don't like is everything in that armory, in that building, is a mystical artifact from a god. That sword should do something. And why is it displayed the way it is if it doesn't have some kind of
Well, it lets you
power?
breathe underwater, but we just didn't get to see that.
Oh, yes, okay. It shoots webs out the tip.
Oh, man.
Did anybody else want to weigh in on the sword thing? Because that was one of the main things I wanted to talk about.
I have no opinion on the sword.
I'm kind of done with the sword. I don't have anything else on it.
Brother Antilles, do you think the ending is hurt by the massive, confusing energy bolts and whatnot fight at the end that results in victory through just force rather than Wonder Woman's compassion?
Actually, no, because I feel like what motivates her at the end is her love for humanity, and that's how she beats back Ares. So she does, in a way, kill the god with love. She kills the god of war with love.
I do think they could have done something with her not killing him, but I don't have a problem with the fight.
Yeah, I kind of wish he didn't actually die at the end somehow or rather, but sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, too, like, there's a big point made in the movie that it's important that people fight for what they believe in. Steve Trevor says this when he first meets her. He says, my father told me, if you see something wrong with the world, you can either do nothing or something. I've already tried nothing. And Diana's whole thing throughout the movie is you have to stand up for what you believe in. That's why she gets so upset when the generals are talking about, like, the soldiers being, dispensable and stuff. So I think it works with what they were, going with the previous to the movie. It would have been kind of, I think, anticlimactic if she just refused to fight him at the end of the movie because that's what they've been setting up the entire movie. I think the conflict's set up pretty well, actually. Yeah, I didn't really have an issue with it myself.
My issue with it initially was he throws a bunch of energy at her, and then she takes the same energy and blows him up with his energy. But then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, but she's a god too, apparently, and so she probably also has her own energy that she throws out, given what we know about what she did with the gauntlets at the beginning, and she does that again later. I don't know what exactly the power sets are. Somebody complained about that in the comments too, saying that like we don't really know enough about the powers. It does.
I don't have a problem with that because she doesn't know.
Yeah. But it would have been nice by the end to have like a real clear-cut sense of what she can and can't do, I think. But hopefully moving forward, maybe we'll get more of that. I didn't expect them to go as far as to have her fly, and that was a big deal to me. That was real breathtaking. When we finally get to that point, yeah. I didn't think we'd go there in this universe. That was a big deal to me.
One of the things I really liked about the final fight too, I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but I thought it was the second time I saw it, I thought it was kind of cool that Ares is the guy that initiated the war and the invention of all this technology, and he literally fights her for half of the fight by throwing war technology at her, like the planes and the tanks, and they all deflect off her, and they're completely useless.
Well, that was something I
thought
liked.
That was kind of cool.
That was something I liked with her fighting him. More than in the Thor movies or really any other super movies that do something like this, I got more of a sense that Ares was a god because she hits him with stuff and it doesn't matter. Like, when we do gods in superhero movies, you can hit them with a pillar and a tank and they'll just get hurt like everybody else. Like, look at Loki and with Hulk. None of that stuff works on Ares. It has to be that she is also a god and she is up on his level. The things of man cannot harm him, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's an argument. I'm glad you said that because this was a big point I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to know what you guys all think of this. There's an argument that I wonder if now that Wonder Woman is getting more popular, finally, right, Manos? Finally, isn't that exciting? People
it is very exciting.
Starting to like this character and understand something about her. And I mean, I'm with Dan. I never really cared about Wonder Woman. And I saw this movie and I was like, well, I like this character. Like, if this counts as Wonder Woman, I'm a fan of this character.
Yes.
I feel like I'm getting this now. And Manos, I'm not trying to dog on one of your favorite fandoms. I have tried for years and years, and I have not been able to get into this character. And this,
that's fine.
And Eric said, like, I feel like I have to apologize because this is one of Manos' favorite things. Eric, before we went in, said what I really want from this movie, and of course this was when we weren't sure it would even make sense, the story. We went in and Eric said the one thing I really want is for this movie to finally make me care about this character and get her. And we walked out and we had that, and that was the biggest thing that blew my mind. Okay, now I get this character. This turns me into a Wonder Woman fan. I get why she should be part of the Trinity more than just she goes back that far too and is a feminist icon and is important and matters and stuff. I need it to be more than that. I want to be invested in that character. I don't want her to just be important to the culture because she's a symbol. My big question, guys, are we going to have the argument, now that people know something about Wonder Woman that we've had with Superman for so long, where people won't care about her because she's too powerful? Only a god can kill a god? So nothing in the world can kill this character now.
Well, I mean, Darkseid. Do those counts as gods? All of them are the new gods.
That's true.
And it could be like if you did like Cheetah, she could be like imbued with the power of a god or something like that.
Way more powerful than even Superman.
Yeah.
There's not like a rock or something you can put in her face.
And this is the thing I thought of watching this movie.
Isn't that interesting?
Is I was like, okay, so she's really powerful. She's really optimistic. Like all of this stuff, and I'm like,
why do people not care about Superman?
Why are we all cool with this, but with Superman it's lame? I don't get that.
Yeah, like I've said forever that Marvel keeps making great Superman movies with Captain America. DC just made a great Superman with Wonder Woman.
Well, and that point's even accentuated by the fact that this movie, like, specifically is reverential to the original Donner movie. Like, she dresses up kind of like Clark Kent and does the bullet deflection thing in the alleyway. That's kind of a reversal of what happens in that movie. Like, I was thinking the whole time, I was like, well, I mean, somebody who made this movie like Superman too.
It follows a similar, it follows a similar structure with Themyscira, London, and then kind of the third act.
This director would not say we have to make Superman cool. She already thinks that. And isn't it really interesting, Dan, that she is commenting directly on mistakes Man of Steel made in her movie that is referential to Donner? It's fascinating.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I felt like that approach was taken with Wonder Woman as a person who wasn't a fan of the character. Like, some of the goofiest elements of this character are present in this movie, like the lasso of truth. That's like a really golden age, like goofy kind of idea, and they use it in this movie, and it works, and I really liked it. Even the way she fights with it is cool, you know?
Some of Chris Pine's acting in anything he's ever done is when he's got that lasso around him and he's trying not to tell the truth. It's great.
Well, and I loved how the lasso looked in BVS. That was one of my biggest compliments to BVS was
the lasso
was how
good?
cool the lasso looks, and it continues to look awesome in this.
You know, I've never understood that comment. Like, I can't believe the magic lasso looks cool. As if superhero weapons are realistic and believable. Like, oh, like the web spinners are really believable. Or Thor's hammer.
I would have always expected them to just do rope. I like that
those costumes. Those weapons are as Wonder Woman silly. I mean, that's part of why I love superheroes. Is they fight real evil with silly things. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna web you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wasn't really concerned that the lasso wouldn't look cool.
Yeah, I don't know what Dan's talking about.
I was awe-inspired by
it. You should stop saying things.
Yeah.
Guys, we have 10 minutes left on the clock, so we're gonna try to answer as many things as we can.
What they really need to do.
Although I will say the invisible jet is not.
What they really need to do is give her an invisible jet because, like you said, she doesn't know how to fly an airplane in this movie, which is kind of ironic now that you say that. Like, one of the iconic things is that she has an invisible airplane, she doesn't know how to fly them yet.
And they said they're not
will be that origin story. It'll be the origin of how she gets the invisible jet.
Well, that's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why George Perez took away the. That's one of the reasons why George Perez took away the plane for a good long while and had her fly because, like, well, she's in the sky. Looks like she's flying. Might as well just make her fly.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the problem with giving it to her.
You don't need this stupid jet around her.
If she can fly, I mean, it's the same thing as giving Superman a jet or a flying car or something. Why would he even need that?
Yeah, like the Spider-Mobile. Why? Why would you need that?
Manos, does Wonder Woman... Can Wonder Woman fly at fast speeds like Superman, or does she just kind of glide?
Flies like Superman. It is a magical gift from the gods. I forgot which god. I think Mercury.
Probably Hermes.
But can she zoom real fast, or does she just go at like a particular speed? Is it like I go Mach 20, but nowhere faster than that? Like,
oh, she's not in Superman Flash league as far as fast, but I mean she's pretty fast when she wants to like fly.
You guys, I'm like,
I don't know the rate, but I know she's.
I'm irrationally excited that this Wonder Woman flies. I'm irrationally excited about that.
I thought she flew in BBS.
I don't remember. I don't care.
I want to say she does.
Because when I saw it in this, I wasn't expecting it, and I got to get giddy about it, and so just give me that. I want to
say she does, like, you're not going to even understand this, but like a Goku thing where, like, when she's fighting Doomsday, she kind of, like, takes off and, like, flies at him. I think.
She did kind of Goku fly in BBS. I will grant you that.
One of the questions. Why does Superman have to use the sword? Why don't I just hand it to her? I don't know.
It makes even less sense now. We know she's good with it.
Yeah, I don't get that. Yeah, one of the things I always thought was silly about the invisible jet was that it was on Themyscira.
One of the worst things about this movie is that it makes BVS even worse.
Yeah. I want to go back into BVS and just make it better, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it will.
My hope for the future of the DCEU is for each preceding film to make BVS look worse.
Let's see what else folks want to talk about. This is good. Smarty Pants Tutoring asks, is Steve Trevor one of your favorite love interests? Yes, absolutely. He's brilliant. He is the best Lois Lane ever on screen. That's the thing. But he's also the best Steve Trevor ever. That's another character I've never really cared much about.
Yeah. I think he's definitely up there with like Pepper Potts as like best superhero love interest on film.
He's a good hero in his own right too. Certainly, he dies at the end. Spoiler alert.
I honestly think their relationship is probably my favorite one I've seen in a superhero movie. Like, it was great. I loved it. It was wonderful. Like, the scene with them dancing was so well done, and the scene where they finally get together is done very tastefully, and it feels earned. I really enjoyed the chemistry they had in this movie. Steve Trevor's really charming and funny throughout the entire movie. He's great.
I
It made Eric cry, and Eric doesn't cry much.
I told Cap after we saw it, the scene where they he goes into her bedroom and then the lights are whatever. I told him afterwards, I was like, I didn't know we were allowed to do that anymore. I didn't know you were allowed to have tasteful sex scenes anymore. I just thought that was out of the rule of movies.
And Steve Trevor is one of those characters that is so easily badly written over the years. Like, I've seen him written as a smarmy guy, which is irritating and creepy, or a Ken doll just standing next to Wonder Woman doing nothing.
I've seen him written as what is he in the TV pilot from a couple of years ago, where he just shows up and he's like Wonder Woman's ex, and he's part of the IRA or something.
Oh my God, that was so bad. That was so bad. And he's almost like the male Lois Lane. Like, it's a great character that's easy to screw up, and God, they nailed it with him. And the performance that we've already talked about the performance that Chris Pine has and the connection he makes with Gal Gadot, that sells like 80% of this material.
I was sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say I was really pleased with the pacing of the movie, and in the sense that we're talking about the relationship stuff, in that there were a lot of scenes where we got to slow down and just have people talk to each other, and I feel like that's becoming a lost art in superhero movies because it's like slam bang action all the time, or it's like the BBS talking scenes where it's just Lex Luthor muttering gibberish and it's supposed to be funny.
It's really important. It's really important. Don't you understand how important it is?
Or it's like the overdue. Or it's like the Marvel overly humorous compensation where we feel like we need to end every scene with some sort of quip to make the audience laugh. Like the jokes here genuinely landed when they came, and they didn't feel the need to undercut the scenes that were really heavy with jokes like I've seen in some of the other superhero movies that have been coming out lately. So I just thought Patty Jenkins did a fantastic job in all regards with that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, interesting movie to watch right after Guardians after you say that.
Yeah.
I mean, how great... I'm sorry.
I was just going to say real quick, I thought that there were some massive risks taken with their initial scenes and their discussion and innuendo about relations with the opposite gender and stuff. When it's handled so tastefully, that scene where he comes out of the bath and the question of what is that? Oh, it's a watch. That could have been awful, and it was great. and then when they're on the boat after that, and the whole thing about men are necessary for procreation but not for pleasure, and then come over here and sleep with me. Oh no, I'll sleep with you. Yeah, no, sure. All of that worked, and once we got past that scene, I was like, oh, there's really something here. Like, I was waiting for it to fall flat somewhere. And that boat scene was where I went, I think we might have a real movie here, you guys. Like, good Lord, what did I watch? Sorry, what, man?
That boat scene was so well written, and the fact that
brilliant.
Wonder Woman doesn't understand the issues that Steve has with men and women sleeping together, but not like in a sexual way or anything like that. Yeah. Just like as equals, and that was really nicely handled. And what I think I like so much about Steve is Steve really does feel like he's a man who comes out of this women's suffrage era, and he reminds me a little bit. I hadn't really thought about this until I started watching this film, and I started comparing Steve with Wonder Woman's own creator, who came out of that same generation and had very progressive views on women and the gender equality for this. He was living in that time and had very progressive views on that. And Steve is someone who is saved by Wonder Woman. He watches these Amazons kick the crap out of these German soldiers with no problem. Yeah, he is kind of woke, and he is open-minded enough to really kind of get it. And God, I mean, he's really well handled in this movie.
I also really appreciate that we've got historical perspective and everything, pretty much everything everybody's saying, especially about that kind of stuff. I'm buying in that period, and it doesn't feel the need to try to like hold our hand and like put modern sensibilities on people that wouldn't have them. So it's able to have a strong female protagonist and be progressive itself without having these like neon lights and patting herself on the back about it. It just is that, and thank God, because we're not getting enough of that right now, and I think this is a really important movie for that.
One of the things I liked period piece wise in that conversation on the boat is when he's talking about marriage, and it would have been really modern if he started talking about divorce. But her question, because he says her
question is basically, do people grow old and get happy?
Yeah, and he says most of them not, and that is much more accurate to the time. If you did that scene now, it would be like, well, everybody just gets divorced. I like that it's that, you know, the guy that comes home and drinks a beer and doesn't talk to his wife. It is the not happy relationships that
much more thoughtful, yeah. And even lines that were in the trailer that I expected to balk at were great in the movie, and I was really surprised by it. I should also say Etta Candy's great and is used to. I think she's on screen a perfect amount of time. The first time around, I didn't think she was used enough, and then when I saw it again, I was like, "Oh, she's actually really integral to this story, and she's just on screen when she needs to be." This movie even knows how to handle its comic relief characters in that way.
I love Etta, and I like that she's funny. In the comics right now, she's pretty serious, but I like the comic relief that she could do, and I prefer the more dorky fun, but smart and spunky kind of Etta. And this film owns it, and she's wonderful in those scenes. I agree. And you know, if Scott Snyder had directed this, she probably would have been shot in the face in the first 2 minutes.
Zack Snyder,
yeah.
Zack Snyder,
yeah. Well, also
but
Scott Snyder too.
That she's not going to be around as supporting. Like one of the bummers about this film is none of the supporting cast will come back, even though they were all great.
Yeah, I was really surprised. We're talking about the secretary lady, to be clear, because I don't know the actress's name or the comic book character's name. So you guys were saying that, and I'm like, I think that's who we're talking about.
yeah, that's you got it.
I thought she was really cringy in the trailers, and she was completely fine in the context of the movie. I really liked her.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is when she says, we stand up for our principles, but we could fight at any time. And she does this little I don't know what this is, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, I just like that as a response. Like we gotta fight. Yeah, we do that with our principles. And then she goes, "That's how we're gonna get the vote."
Yeah, this.
It's hilarious. I like that. A lot of things again that could have seemed really preachy are. Sure, commentary, like social commentary of the day and also sometimes now, but come from character places and are really personal and specific to people. So, I really like that scene with the guy who says he wants to be an actor, but he's the wrong color. This is a smart enough movie to pull that off, and I love that. It was great, and I felt for all those guys.
Well, and I like that it's. I said this in how we felt about. I like that it doesn't have hate in its heart. The message of the film and the film does not have hate in its heart. It is genuinely actually about love, and I think a lot of times,
and that doesn't come off sappy.
How did they make a movie that wins by the power of love and it's not sappy? But no, a lot of times when I see Wonder Woman's origins, and I've read a couple of them, and I've seen the animated film, she shows up and she's kind of sanctimonious. It's very judgmental of the way the world is, and this isn't that way. This is not just going, well, everything's wrong, and here's how it should be done. It's looking at what's happening and thinking about it, and I really appreciate it. It's not judgmental. It's thinking.
It's real thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
One of the things I love so much about the character, and this is something that Marston actually was very vehement about, is that he wanted this character to be nurturing, be peaceful, even a pacifist. Hate war, but will fight in a second and beat the bad guys. Out of love, not hate or revenge. And this film gets it, and that's exciting. I love it when a film gets the character. That's just sometimes amazing.
You don't want Wonder Woman to brand people?
Yeah, with a big W.
Logo. It's so good. I would be brand new, and that's great.
One of the things that Captain Logan and I had a conversation about, I thought that would be neat if they eventually do it in the Justice League movie, because I find it interesting that Batman and Wonder Woman have like their little, interaction in the BVS movie. I think it would actually work, Batman becoming a better person, if they do the Bruce Timm like romance between the two of them, and Wonder Woman makes Batman a better person by being
I think that could work.
a good person. Like showing him how to not be really cynical and brand people and I don't know, do whatever Batman does in that BVS movie,
And to that conversation you and I had, Dan, I also think that Wonder Woman might have to teach Superman how to be Superman, which is really unfortunate, but that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Really, what kind of a world do we live in when a man dresses men? What kind of world do we live in when DC can't nail Batman or Superman first time out, but the hard one is great. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
We're going to get a scene with Wonder Woman telling Superman, have you ever thought of not blowing up the buildings to stop the guy?
I'm hoping, because we had, I don't know in BVS, I don't know in the two scenes we have in the present in this movie, I'm hoping Justice League. What is Wonder Woman's job?
She's got to be a museum curator, and
that's helping the world how? Like, I couldn't figure out the correlation of, she's like, and I kept fighting.
I think that's her secret identity. I think but the question is, if she's running out in costume, how come nobody knows about her? I don't get that. Also, somebody explain to me what exactly is happening in that last scene. She hears something, and then jumps up. No, she is like, it sounds like bombs in the distance, or something lands on a roof like Santa Claus or something, and then she's like, and then she gets up and runs out, and then has like a running leap, and then I'd like to know what she's going after and what happened there, but I
sort of assumed that they would
something bad, I guess.
I sort of assumed that they would explain what she was going after in a post-credit scene, like it would have been like, like a mother box blew up in Paris or something. But there was
little do you know, the first shot of Justice League is her continuing the leap.
Yeah, she lands in the Justice League movie.
Guys, we are already out of time. Let's go ahead and do final thoughts real quick, and I'll see if there are any more questions that we just absolutely must answer right away. And I'm sorry we didn't get to more things than we did, but one question would lead to 100 things that people really want to talk about.
We said humanly possible.
We did.
It's the only promise we made.
I know. It's all we said. We're not gods. I'm sorry. We can't do it. Also, the fact that a god, like an actual literal god made from clay. Oh, well, that's neat. I love that line, by the way. I know it's in the trailers, but I love that line.
I'm actually unclear on the made from clay thing. Do we do the New 52 thing? Because they say she's actually Zeus's daughter.
They're alluding to the fact that the clay was a myth and a story that her mother told her, and that she was a daughter of Zeus.
Well, she definitely. What we know for sure is that Zeus, and this is after seeing it 3 times, that Zeus definitely did make her to be the weapon to destroy Zeus.
I know that.
Okay.
But my question is, did she actually come from clay?
I think she must have.
Or did she actually, because the way they play it with the Zeus is your father, well, she knew in the story she was clay and her mom prayed to Zeus. Well, she would have known that Zeus made her. The way that they say father makes me think actual child.
But Hippolyta talks about actually making the clay, and she's not making that up. Like the problem with that is Hippolyta actually built her physically from clay.
Okay.
So I don't see how Zeus could be her actual birth father,
because it's treated like a revelation when he says it, and then she starts calling him brother.
Oh.
Well, look, if he like gives her life by magic, that still does kind of make her.
But if you think it's a revelation, I don't know
her
why
father.
That's what I mean. Is she knew that already, and then when he says it, it seems like she's like, "Oh, okay," and because I'm that makes me a god. So that's where I was confused and unsure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the film's a little vague on this point, to be honest. At least that's what I got.
And maybe that's glad that they'll deal with it later.
I'm just happy. I hope maybe. We might. There probably is some room. I'm just happy the Amazons are the Amazons, not the evil Amazons they were in the New 52. I was really relieved because that was one of the most hateful things I'd seen done. They got to fight
some Germans on the beach. I wasn't expecting them to actually go through the invisible force field thing. That was awesome.
Oh God, wasn't that so cool?
Yeah, it's always just Steve Trevor lands. I love
hate
that
to be
the
that
boat
guy.
comes in.
I hate to be that superficial. Wasn't that so cool? That was so cool.
Sometimes, look, you just got to let go, and that was cool.
Well, just because it gave us a good reason to get to, it was a good excuse for them to get to fight, and they actually got to protect their homeland. Like there was a real reason to do it, not just because
Well, and it's because that's where she first uses her like god powers, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, Ares is gonna know, and then immediately the war comes to them. The war finds them the second she uses the god powers.
That's great. Dan, final thoughts, sir.
I really liked this movie. It was a really great story. Made me a fan of at least this version of the character. I really like her, and I was really refreshed by this movie because it didn't feel like a commercial for the next 2 movies I was supposed to go see. It was just a really good standalone movie that told a story about a character that is really likable. It was uplifting. It was everything I want to see when I go see a superhero movie. So I really enjoyed it.
Wasn't like Wonder Woman the first leaguer. Dawn of
the first Justice,
first of the eventually gonna be the Justice League. Yeah, Manos, final thoughts, sir.
I absolutely enjoyed this film. It was wonderful. It was a big relief to me as a Wonder Woman fan who's like, had to sit here and watch not Wonder Woman made for a long time, either in TV shows or films, and watch Batman after Batman come up, and it comes in and nails it, and really does get the character, and it's just it was beautiful to watch. I was very happy.
Eric, what's the last thing you'd like to say, sir?
I hope Cheetah's in the sequel. One of the few things I know about Wonder Woman is that Cheetah's her nemesis, and she never shows up. She's in one episode of Justice League. She's not in the animated movie. We never get Cheetah. I just want to know why I should care about Cheetah in the way I learned that, why I should care about Wonder Woman. That's all I want. And I really like this movie.
Well, and I was going to say, since we're not going to have a pantheon of gods, it would be really easy to do a more like street level Wonder Woman movie and put Cheetah in there. And then I thought, well, that would be like a jungle level.
Well, and also Wonder Woman's still a god, so the street level thing doesn't work. She would just
trounce her.
She would just paint the street with her.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Logan, may I add one more thing about the film? My hope is I'm watching this succeed. By the way, it did very well the second weekend. Its drop was not as far as like BVS's or Suicide Squad's, and it beat the Mummy.
See, there's real quick. Sorry, Manos. I will let you say your thing. I got to say this real quick.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I was going to be really excited about was if this was the best female-led superhero movie ever made. Not hard. I didn't want it to have the 70% drop off. It's like not hard, but it is way better than all of that. Sorry, Manos. Go ahead.
That's okay. No. My hope that this will kind of like get WB to look at their films they're planning, because I don't know how deep they are into making Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman.
Aquaman's out next year.
But man, I really hope this changes the tone of the future films. Instead of trying to be as fake, dark, serious as they have been for the first few films, I hope this maybe kind of gets them to like step back and let the filmmakers make films about these awesome characters that we all love, and they're legends and heroes, and they're the characters you look up to. They're the heroes trying to be human for a reason, and I'm hoping this will help the studio with these films find the heart on these characters. That's my hope.
I'm hoping that this is just representative of what they're doing moving forward. Like, even if this, I mean, not if this movie did terribly, but even this movie just did okay, but this is the kind of movies that they're making moving forward behind the scenes right now.
Yeah.
And the reception is just going to help that.
And I hope if Jeff Johns finally getting the reins like a Kevin Feige had anything, if that had anything to do with why this movie was allowed to be what it is, then I hope he just keeps doing what he's doing. I don't know if it is, but if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah, you stay there, you leave the Watchmen alone, and you
stay right where you are.
Stay right where you are.
Absolutely.
Amen, brother. Amen. Leave the Watchmen alone, please.
The last thing I wanted to mention, I actually do this a lot at the end of the show, is score. I've been listening to the score of this apart from the movie. It's so good, and they managed to integrate the Wonder Woman theme from BVS that Eric and I thought was really funny and kept laughing at perfectly. And the more I see it, not only am I not laughing at that theme anymore, but I actually really like it now within the context of this. Well, it as the I'm going to murder Ares music is just fantastic.
I never heard that music.
It is. It's great.
It's that it drops in these random scenes in BVS where it feels like it's not part of the soundtrack. That's why it's funny. It's never been that it's a bad piece of music.
But on the other hand, I don't know how I didn't know how they could possibly integrate it, especially with like some of the Celtic stuff and the rest of what the soundtrack sounds like. Like the first time it comes up, you and I were like, "That's a little out of nowhere," and we were like, not like the Power Ranger theme or anything, but it was kind of out of nowhere. But then when it comes up again, when she's going after I said Ares, when she's going after the general that she thinks is Ares, it's brilliant. In the soundtrack, that's called Wonder Woman's Wrath. It's great.
Well, I like that it's metal. It's kick-ass. It's the Thor it's the score we should have given Thor. Like Thor should have a real metal soundtrack.
That's why Led Zeppelin is in the new Thor trailer, and it works really well.
Yeah, because it gives an epicness to that film. You know what?
It should have that edge to it. Yeah, the right kind of.
I appeared on Geeky Gentleman talking with Sid Bartu about this, and Sid brought up an amazing point about music and the fact that the DC films have kind of had a better record with scores in their films. Yeah, like the Wonder Woman score, I think, is iconic and perfect. I mean, you could put it alongside Burton's Batman and the Superman the movie. That's how great score it is. Marvel scores? I mean, do you even know how the Avengers score goes? I don't, and I've seen that film a whole bunch of times. I love that film.
The main fanfare, yes, but not any of the rest of it. Sorry, Dan.
I know Iron Man 3 score.
Yeah. I like the fanfare from the first Avengers movie. I think that's a good piece of music. But yeah, the Marvel Studios films specifically, the scores are usually pretty generic. There are specific pieces, like I do like the theme that plays at the beginning of Civil War. I think that's a pretty good, like, Captain America kind of theme. And there's a couple of pieces from the first Thor movie that I go back to. But yeah, other than that, I agree.
I think one of the bigger problems that Marvel has with their scores is they keep disposing of them. Like, they will go, this is this character's theme, and you will not see it after this movie. And they kind of keep doing that.
But to be fair, Captain America made 3 movies of 3 entirely different ilks, so it wouldn't have made sense to keep using the kind of score you have.
That's true, but Iron Man has kind of a definitive theme, and it's not in 2 and 3. I think Thor also has a similar. Like, they don't stick with their theme, so they don't keep feeling like that is the character's theme.
Well, guys, we are out of time. We've got to get going here. But the last thing I wanted to do, sorry, Manos, what's up?
Oh no, just saying goodbye.
Real quick, the last thing I wanted to do, I'm going to start doing this too. I asked some of our subscribers today on social media how they would rate this film. Obviously, I'm not going to give a rewind type score until I've actually sat down and done the analysis. But just for fun, I asked our viewers how they rate this film on the rewind scale, the 0 to 4 scale, and we had 52 votes on social media. The top score was a 3.5 from 38% of our listeners there, and 31% gave it a 4.
I voted for a 3.5. So
only one person gave it a 1.5.
Shame.
And before that,
Steve.
But there's 4% gave it a 2.5. 25% gave it a 3. So we, at least with the folks that voted, we seem to all be mostly in agreement that it's at least a really good watch, if not a great superhero movie. I can't tell you how excited I am to get to say that, especially because someday I'm going to have to sit down and do an analysis, and it's good, and I won't be dreading that. So that's really exciting for me.
How crazy is it that Wonder Woman and Wolverine 3 are like my favorite? Like, that's just crazy.
It's a topsy-turvy world we live in this year, you guys. Well, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. If you watched live, thanks for doing that. Thanks for all the comments. If you watched after the fact, we appreciate that as well. We had a nice attendance, and really cool to have so many people here hanging out with us live. As I said, we will be back regularly, full-time again, in 8 days, starting on not tomorrow, but the next Monday. And we'll be back with lots more videos for you. We are going to streamline the channel a little bit because I just only only have so much time in the day, but I'm going to be prioritizing written stuff, especially Rewind. And Eric and I are going to get back to some movie reviews. He made me watch and some things like that. So there is a kind of poll going on right now. We have a survey going on right now, on Facebook. If you want to go there and make any suggestions of what you'd like to see on the channel when we come back, we would love to hear from you. In the meantime, thanks for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. This was the realest of the real Manoses.
And in tribute to Wonder Woman, I'm going to fly away.
Try jumping off the roof.
I heard something up there. You should probably go see what that was. Take care. Dan Torrey!
Bye, everyone. I'm off to watch the Bethesda E3 press conference, so we ended just in time.
Eric Holden.
You know, I'm normally not where I can see myself on the screen. I mean, when I sit over there, I can pay attention to those people, not look at me. Is anyone else weirded out by how much I blink? I look like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and that really bothers me.
I can't say I ever noticed. Thanks for watching, folks. And I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Saying good night. Good night.